how disappointed it was for Seth and for everybody involved, but that was such a weird time. I do want to pass along this note that I mentioned to you guys during the commercial break on Ole Miss. Baylor and Ole Miss scheduled for the season opener down in Houston. Well, Ole Miss has just announced that they have canceled all in-person on-campus events through August 1st, 2020, which might not seem like a big deal because the game's scheduled for Houston, but that includes all academic and athletic programs. So academic athletic programs canceled till August 1st. That means that Baylor-Ole Miss opener is looking very, very dicey if it didn't already.
Yeah, that's a one-time deal.
Yeah.
That's a one-time non-conference game in Houston that was supposed to be played this year. We're now joined by former Baylor quarterback Seth Russell. Seth, you see what's going on. You saw some several athletes that were on teams that were going to be a part of the postseason in basketball and whatever else in other spring sports, and all of a sudden it was cut short. Can you relate to them in any way based on some of the things you dealt with as a player?
Well, David, that's a great question again, and I appreciate you guys having me on. I know y'all had some phenomenal people come on. I don't know why you'd put me in the lineup with those guys. I could never match up with any of them. But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, I guess it's heartbreaking. I mean, you hate to see guys guys and gals that bust their tail in and out day after day, 365 days a year to be able to fight, for the national championship. I mean, that's kind of what you train for. That's always the goal. And for something that's completely out of your control to be able to happen and really, take into affect everybody, not just, college athletics, but just everybody. It's just, you hate to see it. And I feel for the guys. I mean, I know that, I understand that I think the NCAA has, granted another year for for the spring sports.
Mm-hmm.
But, for basketball, I mean, especially right now, I mean, that was March Madness is where basketball is kind of made. And for them not to be able to play in that, you hate it. I mean, you just feel for the players. But then again, I guess it kind of gives them a jump start to start focusing on the next year, whether it's, declaring for the draft, or possibly fighting for a starting position the next year.
Seth, when you commit to a program that had the quarterback run that they had at Baylor, what were the parts of intimidation stepping in and excitement of being a part of that and being coached and getting your opportunity?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say there's much intimidation. It was a very quarterback-friendly system. I knew that if I just executed the way that we knew how to execute, get the ball out of my hand as quickly as possible and into the hands of the guys that can make plays, it definitely made my job a lot easier on that sense. But being able to to come into a program that was on the up and up, that had been successful the last couple of years, had a Heisman Trophy winner the year before, you could kind of see where the program was going and that I wanted to be a part of that. And luckily, lo and behold, Robert declared the year that I was that I was originally committed to Kansas. And once he declared, that opened up a position, and I was able to kind of slip my way in, I guess to say, but to kind of see and be a part of the program, that just how prolific the quarterbacks have been, and to step in and just kind of say, hey, this is my time to shine. I've sat my time, behind some great quarterbacks. I've learned my lessons, maybe not enough, to get down. But other than that, it was an amazing ride.
I know a lot of people don't like to deal with what ifs, but I'm just curious, has it ever crossed your mind and you thought about what if I had gone to Kansas?
Yes and no. I love the Kansas University. I love their program with Coach Gill there at the time. I love what they stood for. But God has a funny way of humbling you and putting you in the right place in the right time, whatever that reason is. And sometimes you never know, you never find out until you finally get to ask that question at the end of the day. But I don't really look back on it that much, honestly, because I just had so much fun at Baylor.
You I know the story's been told before, and it's been a while. 4 years ago, coming up here in about a month or two, you're in, what was it, Brazil? Is that right, 2016?
That's correct.
Can you kind of give everyone who has not heard the story, and I know it's a very dark, difficult time. Here you are, a quarterback coming back for a team loaded, and then all of a sudden you hear the news that the Pepper Hamilton report has come out and your coach is gone. Where were you at the time? Were you sleeping? What was going on? And how did you react?
Yeah, so we were actually outside of Rio de Janeiro. We were at kind of like an adult rehab Christian facility. It was a really kind of cool situation with people that had grew up, selling drugs or, being runners or murderers, whatever it is, kind of this area of just completely away from civilization. And we were sitting at lunch. We had a break for lunch, and I didn't have the national cell service, whatever, to pay for. But one of the other players did, and he got a text, and he kind of read it and said, "Oh my gosh." We all just kind of stopped and looked at him like, what's going on? He goes, "Coach Briles is no longer here." Like, what are you talking about? Is he okay? I said, "No, here, read this." And of course I read it, and then ended up, basically saying, I don't know how accurate this is, but basically saying that, it's been a pleasure coaching you guys. I'm no longer going to be at Baylor University. The tides have changed, and good luck to you guys in the future type of message.
How close are you with some of the guys that went through all that, especially the ones that stayed around and had to deal with that 2016 year that was so hard? The brotherships have to be pretty strong.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, some of my best friends till this day were on that team. So it's kind of a weird scenario to be a part of, to kind of say, hey, I went through this and we bonded. But as we were under so much fire when we came back from, I came back from the trip, when we started a summer workout, so everybody was, basically, wanting to burn down Baylor. And we just had an even bigger target on our back than from the year before. And it was just it was more motivating than anything to kind of prove and fight for a university that, may or may not have had the best outcome for what the situation was. But be able to fight for the fans, for the people who really stuck through with us, the tried and true really, and to keep our circle tight was one of the biggest factors. And so a lot of those players I have a lot of respect for staying. The ones that left, they left on their own circumstances or whatever it may be. Maybe it wasn't the best fit, whatever it is. But the guys who did stay to kind of ride out the storm grew and learned, as much as they possibly could at such a young age. I mean, we were 21, 20, 19, 18-year-old kids basically. And kind of going through this, we had to grow up really quick. And luckily we had a really good coaching staff that was able to stay with our strength staff as well and kind of fight through that psychological warfare that we were facing every day.
Seth, obviously it took a while for Matt Rule to get it going. His vision of the program that first year was very rough, and that was a long stretch for Baylor fans there of just kind of misery, quite frankly. But by last year number 3, he had that thing really cooking, playing for a Big 12 title, playing Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. He's gone now, obviously, and Dave Aranda's in charge. But just your thoughts as a former player and seeing, how bad things were there for a little while to the joy of so many moments last season. Having talked to a bunch of former players during the season last year, I was just kind of overwhelmed by how excited they were and how happy they all were. How was that for you, seeing them kind of rise from the ashes, so to speak?
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, to kind of go back, with Matt Rule, I mean, he's a phenomenal guy. I understand the situation he stepped into was not the best case scenario for him. But I feel like he made the best of it, especially with the guys. And I really feel for those seniors that had to go through that 1-11 year. That's you never want to end on that type of note. But to kind of see the support that a lot of those guys continue to have for the players over the years, the next couple of years, and to be able to see, that third year for them to go out, and just crush it and it's really cool to be a part of and just say, hey, you know, I'm a lot of after that first 1-11 year, you didn't see a lot of Baylor memorabilia or, you know, support out in the public,
right?
Which is, you know, it's tough on that end. But then again, being able to kind of see it, like you said, rise from the ashes of, you know, whatever it was, and be able to overcome those obstacles, it just kind of shows a testament to the players, to the coaching staff, that, you know, they really bought in to the program, that they knew whatever they were doing, they had the right players, it's just putting them in the right positions, and they were able to be successful with all that.
You guys were winning 31-26, and you ran the ball over right side. I think there was probably about 5 or 6 minutes left in the game at Texas. This is the game where then, of course, everything fell apart. You had the lead, probably should have won that game 3 times. How close were you when you hurdled the defender of staying? Like, we had Bryce Petty on, and he had that slip against Oklahoma State. How close, Seth, were you to staying on your feet? Because I think you fell down at about the 6.
Yeah, no, I've watched that play probably more times than any other play. Not from the sense of jumping over the guy, but what could I have done differently to get in the end zone? And I think there was, I can't remember if it was like 3 or 4 guys that kind of hit me all at one time, and I'm spinning around. And then the last ditch effort, I think, by a defensive end or linebacker catches my shoelace, basically, and trips me. And I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, literally, I went through, jumped over the guy, spun around, broke, I don't know, whatever it was. And that's what caused me not to score. And I think that would have been, you know, definitely the dagger, I think, in the heart of Texas. But unfortunately, and then the next plays that kind of transpired after that didn't work out to I think we ended up with a field goal. And I think that's what ultimately kind of gave them some spark.
I know you're in now becoming a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. We wish you the best of luck. You always seem to come out on the right end because you have great parents, great family, great everything. And you're one of our favorites of all time. Thanks for being a part of this debut week. And no, you're a part of the list of the great names because we appreciated you. And thanks for your time today, my friend.
David, Paul, and Craig, I appreciate you